Anxiety isn't your enemy, it's your bodyguard. Sami Zayn knows a little bit about that. Let's get into it.
One, two, Bodyguard, the Kickout Show!
Hi everyone and welcome to WWA Wrestling with Adversity. Today we're talking about anxiety and how it acts as your bodyguard. A bit like Sami Zayn when he was in the Bloodline. We've had loads of bodyguards in wrestling, haven't we? It's usually like an introductory kind of way to bring a wrestler in. I'm thinking Big E. I'm thinking Diesel. Batista. Kind of the henchman, the big guy. And they get a ride off the other top star. And it brings them to the front. So what is anxiety actually doing? So mostly anxiety is just trying to keep you safe. It's been through a process in your body, watching out for danger, and eventually it gets to the point where it wants to take over. It doesn't trust the world anymore. It doesn't trust upcoming events, and it just wants you to be safe. So it's constantly tapping you on the shoulder or pulling your sleeve and saying, is this dangerous? Is this dangerous? The problem is when that happens, we get locked into this kind of conversation and engagement with the anxiety. We start to think that if we can just work it out, then we'll be safe. We'll be okay. The problem with anxiety in that situation is it doesn't want to just be satisfied with an answer. I don't know if you've ever tried it. I don't know if you've ever been in conversation with anxiety, but it's constantly asking questions. There is no answer that will ever satisfy it, especially if you're in an anxiety disorder. It becomes a perpetual loop, a feedback loop of questions and answers, questions and answers. There is no answer that's ever good enough for it. So you get trapped in it. And that in itself causes anxiety. It's very difficult to climb out of that once you've engaged with it. If you give an answer that maybe answers one path, it will find another path. It will go another route. Well, if this isn't happening, maybe it's this. If it isn't this, maybe it's this. And you get locked into this perpetual loop. It's basically the mind saying something hurt us before, and I'm not going to let that happen again. I don't want that to happen again. This person will crumble. They'll fail. They won't be able to keep going. They'll get trapped. They'll get hurt. And I'm here to save the day. I'm acting as the bodyguard. So just like Sami Zayn for the Bloodline was a henchman. He was asked to go on missions for Roman. He would be sent to destroy one group or destroy another wrestler, and if Roman has a match coming up, he'd be sent in to cause damage, whether it's mentally or physically, to that wrestler so that they can't perform their best. That's what a bodyguard does. It steps in. It takes over. It will do the dirty work. It puts in the hours to make sure everything's going okay. The tribal chief, Roman Reigns, is the host. He's the human. And he has bodyguards. So it's actually a bodyguard. It's actually a security guard. It never clocks off. It's always watching at all moments. Even when you don't feel anxious, it can still be there watching in the background. And then at another time, maybe when you're less busy, when you're alone, then it will bring it all up and it will bring up those questions. And we get trapped in that conversation. We get stuck in that constant loop of questions and answers. So fear is often a memory, not a prediction. So we treat it as a prediction. We see it and feel it almost as certainty that this thing's definitely going to happen. How can I avoid it? How can I change the future? But really, it's just replaying a memory of something that was trapped in the nervous system, something that happened. It stored that, and then now it's giving you that option. It's saying, this is going to happen again. And that's where we get stuck in a loop then. So Sami Zayn in the Bloodline, he was an enforcer. He was a bodyguard. He did what the tribal chief wanted him to do to protect the tribal chief. But there's a price that comes with that. So that part of us can show up in many different ways. It can show up with people pleasing. It can be insecurity, fear, all different ways it shows itself through us. And it's just a mechanism to keep us safe. So if you see yourself when you're out in a large group and you're the one making the drinks, or, you know, fetching the chairs, or allowing other people through the door, almost lowering yourself to a point where you're saying, I'm not dangerous. Don't take me as somebody that's dangerous. Please don't hurt me. Please allow me to exist. That kind of people pleasing is anxiety, trying to keep you small, trying to keep you safe. That's its job, and it does it very well, and it tries to influence your patterns of behavior and the way you interact with the world. There's a fear of it being exiled, so sent away, being shamed into, you're not good enough. You're not going to be loved. You're not going to be accepted. And that's a deep place that anxiety can come from. This worry that you'll be ejected from the clan or the tribe. To be rejected from the tribe in our history would have meant death. We would have moved around in small tribes, hunted together, lived together, raised the children together. And if you weren't part of that, you couldn't hunt a big animal on your own. You couldn't do everything that needed doing, skinning the animals and cooking the food, and you just wouldn't survive on your own. So being part of a tribe, to us, to the ancient part of us, is one of the most important things. We get this feeling we won't survive. So trying to be part of a tribe is incredibly important to these parts of us that fear rejection, that fear being exiled because of our behavior, or not fitting in, or our clothes, or the way we think about things, or our religion, or our colour. All these things are things that we see as differences, and therefore we panic and fear that would mean then we're an outsider. And being outside means death. So people pleasing for me has always been there. It's always been a way for me to fit in. But it's not really fitting in. So I would be the first to help, the first to stand up, the first to make a suggestion that I do the task. And on the surface it seems okay, because people say, oh, isn't he lovely? Isn't he a nice little chap? But eventually you get to the point where you realise that I'm just abandoning myself. I'm not doing what I want to do. I'm not being who I want to be. Why? It's this need to fit in. So it would happen at school. I would be able to help people. I would be able to be polite. I thought it was just because I was raised by a mother who taught me manners and morals. And there is that in there. But it shouldn't come at the sake of sacrificing the self. So I would always endeavour to be the good boy. To be the boy who was loved and accepted because he was good, he was well behaved. But the real me wanted to explore. He wanted to be funny. He wanted to be a prankster. He wanted to be mischievous. You know, all these parts of me were suppressed and hidden for the good boy, because the good boy gets love. But the other parts of me, they wouldn't be accepted. They wouldn't be loved. So they have to be repressed. And then it's the same then when you get into your teenage years. What parts of you are you suppressing? What parts of you are you hiding? And then early adulthood. in the relationship, as a father, as a mother, as a son or a daughter. All these parts of us we hide and we push away so that we get love from those around us. So you stop being you. And all that creates tension. Immense tension. And if it compounds over years, you end up with anxiety or an anxiety disorder. And it's because of the repression of the real self. I never felt safe unless I kept the peace in my house. So growing up, it meant keeping everybody safe, keeping everybody stable. Me being the one to step in, even as a child, to always look after people, to be their bodyguard. If I kept them safe, it kept me safe. That's how my brain worked. That's how everything seemed to work. That when they're happy, I get peace. I get to sit and be peaceful and be me. But it never worked like that, because it didn't matter if they were happy or not, because I was still watching them. Because that's what unpredictability is, isn't it? That is when anybody can go completely turn around, completely change their attitude, completely change their mood. And how's that going to affect me? So I can keep them happy in the short term, but even when they're happy, then I'm still monitoring them, I'm still watching them, I'm still checking for moods, I'm checking for footsteps, I'm checking for how the environment is going to change, or how the environment's going to change this person that's seemingly got my well-being in their hands. And that's what it's like as a child. You're not autonomous. You can't look after yourself. You're relying on a parent or a carer and having to look after their needs and never looking after yours. You grow up into a people pleaser, full of anxiety and these disorders. Some people want to isolate. Some people want to run from groups. They don't want to be around people. So anxiety becomes a disorder when the bodyguard won't stand down. It's decided that you haven't listened to me in the past and these bad things keep happening. So now it wants to be front and center. It's saying, no, I'm standing in the way. I'm not standing down. I'm not turning off, because X, Y, and Z will happen. Because it always does. So now it will just constantly give you thoughts, constantly give you worries, whether it's health anxiety, checking behaviors, compulsions, constantly scanning the environment, looking for danger in relationships and all these things. And then you get all these horrible thoughts coming up. And then we engage with them. We engage with the bodyguard. That engagement, what that tells the bodyguard is, I am needed. Think of it like a guard dog. Like, imagine the guard dog brings you your slippers. And you reach down and you take the slippers. Then what matters is, to the dog, you engaged. You took the slippers. So he must want the slippers. He's not getting into the reasoning of it, that the slippers are actually making you sad because they don't fit, or they've got a hole in, or they're too thin, they're just uncomfortable. The dog doesn't care. The dog knows, I brought you slippers, you took the slippers. What you do with them afterwards is up to you. But I get a pat on the head, I get rewarded, I get told that this is the right thing to do, bring you slippers. So the alternative then is to not take the slippers, right? The alternative is, when the dog brings the slippers, you don't dismiss it. You don't tell it to go away or it's a bad dog. You just don't want the slippers. So we need to let the dog know that we don't want the slippers, the bodyguard, that we don't want them. So the best way to do that is to redirect the dog's attention. So let's say what I do love is the newspaper. Don't read the news, by the way. It's full of shit. Anyway, just say, hypothetically, that I love reading the newspaper. I love reading about my favourite football team, Liverpool. I love the back pages, all about sport. So the dog brings me the slippers. What I do is I go, the newspaper. Yeah, but the newspaper. So he's holding the slippers and I'm standing reading the newspaper. I haven't took the slippers. I haven't told him he's a bad dog. I haven't told him he's a bad boy. I haven't told him to go away. I haven't scolded him, told him off. I'm just showing him what I actually want. Newspaper. Don't get me wrong, this isn't going to fix it overnight. He's still going to keep bringing... You've worn in a pattern now. You've got a groove going of accepting the slippers. But over time, he'll keep bringing the slippers, and eventually he'll get bored and he'll go, fuck, I keep bringing them slippers. He's not even taking them off me. What is he doing? What part of his life is important to him? Every day I bring the slippers. He doesn't want it. He just ignores the newspaper. He doesn't ignore me, but he ignores the newspaper. So how else can I help my human? I see him reading that all the time. That comes through the door. I know where that is. One day brings you the newspaper. That's what neuroplasticity is. That's how we change the brain and our thoughts. We show the brain what it is we want, because that's what we did in the first place. That's why we're getting catastrophic thoughts and anxious thoughts, because we taught it to look for those things. We taught it to look for danger, so it's only doing what it thinks it should. So over time, if you make it the hypothetical newspaper because you love the sports section, or you love a magazine where it talks about celebrities, or more shite, don't read them. But whatever it is you like, whether it's tennis or photography or playing with your kids, all these things, I'm not saying to get the dog to bring you your children. What I'm saying is it will bring you what you value, what's important to you. Over time, that will change. So when it brings you anxious thoughts, you say, yeah, but the newspaper. Yeah, but my kids. Yeah, but photography, a hobby. Something that means something to you, helping people. Yeah? When we do that compounded over time, it wears a new groove into our brain. And when the water trickles down into that riverbed in the brain, it will follow the path that you've worn in. And then you'll notice your thoughts change. They turn into the things that are important to you, the things that you value. So over time, these things compound. They are not overnight fixes. I don't do tips and hints on this channel. I don't believe in that shit. I think there's a way to help ourselves in the short term. Yes, there is breathing, there's meditation, there's journaling and stuff like that. But on this channel, what I'm trying to do is show you that there's a way out for good. Yeah, we don't have to be constantly in a cycle of got to do deep breaths, got to calm down, this panic attack, all that kind of shit. It just kind of fuels itself. If you start heavy, deep breathing, what's that telling the body? What's that telling your inner child? What's that telling the protector? It's saying, this guy's fucking freaking out. He's deep breathing. When do we ever deep breathe? We never deep breathe. Why is he deep breathing? Yeah. So what we're trying to do is move forward with our life. Move forward with the things that mean something to us. That's how you get out of an anxiety disorder. By showing that there's another way. Not constantly just fixing the micro in the moment anxiety. With the deep breaths and the journaling and the meditation. They can come into it. They have their place. They have their time. But if we're constantly only reacting to panic and anxiety, we're just filling a loop there. We're just going around in circles. What I'm about here is getting to the root of these things and finding a new way against adversity. So what I want to do is show you how to break the hold, which is going to be my new tagline. I'm going to put it on t-shirts and stuff like that and just share it with people and just say, let's break the hold. Let's break this once and for all. There's too many people stuck in these patterns. Mental health it's gone through the roof. people with disorders and letters and labels that they name themselves. I don't believe it has to be this way. I think there's a better way with diet, with the way we treat ourselves, the way we look after our mental health, our mental fitness. We don't have to be stuck putting band-aids, plasters on these things forevermore. It's not what I want to do here. So thank you for watching today. This has been WWA. I look forward to chopping this up and put it on socials. If you think there's anyone out there that could use this help, I would love it if you could share it with them. And hit like and subscribe and all that stuff. So thank you for watching. It means a lot to me. And I hope you got some value out of this video. Okay, I'll see you soon.